Americans are living in a pharmaceutical drug culture, and they've been sold those drugs by pharmaceutical giants interested in making as much money as possible. In the preamble of the FDA's new final rule that took effect on June 30th, 2006, the agency asserted that the FDA approval of prescription drugs and their implied safety may no longer be second-guessed by consumers or organizations of any kind. The FDA's stamp of approval, the agency claims, is an absolute declaration of safety of all such drugs for whatever use, including off-label use or the use of drugs on health conditions that were never tested in clinical trials. In one blatantly illegal act, the FDA has attempted to pull off the greatest big pharmaceutical company coup of all, the outright elimination of any responsibility whatsoever for the suffering and death caused by deadly pharmaceuticals. The collusion between big pharmaceutical corporations and the FDA has become the most dangerous circumstance in America. This outrageous assertion by the FDA would take place at a time when many Americans are routinely killed by the harmful side effects of prescription drugs, and only contributes to the arrogance and absurdity that this rogue agency has now become the number one threat to health and safety of the American people. Even a terrorist nuclear attack on a major U.S. city would not equal the number of Americans who have already been killed by the negligent actions of the FDA. FDA-approved prescription drugs injure 2.2 million and kill approximately 100,000 Americans each year, according to peer-reviewed published studies. And more realistic estimates put the number of deaths at over 200,000 people annually in the United States alone. Vioxx, according to a senior FDA drug safety researcher, Dr. David Graham, appears responsible for the deaths of over 60,000 Americans. And further deaths due to beta blockers, antidepressant drugs, statins, and other medications continue to mount every hour. The resulting FDA body count of American casualties makes the casualties of war look small in comparison. The Vietnam War claimed the lives of approximately 50,000 Americans, and a memorial in Washington, D.C. honors those who died. But the FDA-approved prescription drugs have killed well over 1 million Americans. And yet no memorial will be built, no honors bestowed, and now the FDA would deny the families of those victims their legal right to fight for any sort of compensation. It's not like these consumers were killed by enemy gunfire in a foreign land. They were killed by American companies on American soil and with the full permission and approval of an American regulatory agency. The enemy from within is, indeed, far more dangerous than any foreign threat to the lives of American citizens. Big Pharma's worst nightmare was realized with Vioxx. Merck's miracle painkiller had become a record-breaking cash cow for the company. The only trouble was, it was killing people in alarming numbers, up to 55,000 Americans before it was finally pulled from the market. But this was known to both Merck and the FDA long before that, and both had forewarnings of its deadly side effect. It's hard to just ignore that many dead customers, and it wasn't long before state court dockets were filling with class action lawsuits against Merck. Then Merck was slapped by a Texas jury with a $250 million judgment in one of the first Vioxx cases to go to trial. But things got worse. Vioxx users, or their surviving heirs, began elbowing their way into state courts across America. As of November 30th of 2005, Merck admitted to being served or being named as a defendant in no fewer than 9,200 lawsuits brought by 18,250 plaintiff groups, each alleging personal injuries from the use of Vioxx. While most of these cases are still in the courts or on appeal, stock analysts warn that if Merck keeps losing Vioxx-related suits, it could cost the company as much as $50 billion. There isn't a major drug company that doesn't have a similar liability problem looming over one or more of its FDA-approved drug products. And that was the driving motivation for the FDA rule change. which claimed that only federal courts have jurisdiction to hear such cases. Federal courts, where defendant drug companies can count on the support from a friend of the court with serious heft, the FDA. Not since the Great World War II have so many Americans died from a single common preventable cause. The scourge of dangerous prescription drugs combined with the willful collusion that the FDA has now created a chemical holocaust on American soil. This will continue to claim lives of mothers, fathers, daughters, and sons until the American people demand that justice be served and that the FDA pharmaceutical industrial complex be dismantled and condemned.